Do focus groups and blind tests determine your branding? Considering what your customers would think if they could only blind taste test your products against your direct competitors. If you're an online influencer, coach, or expert, they would listen to your courses content without seeing you, of course. We change your voice so they couldn't recognize your level of enthusiasm or passion. Would this be a fair test of your brand? What if we put strangers who aren't necessarily your ideal customers in a room and asked them to determine the value of your brand together as a group within a 1 to 2 hours seating of establishing the room's social hierarchy through testing the product, all the while with someone feeding them questions, curating the arc of their experience? Would that be a fair judgment of your brand? Would you be willing to invest millions of dollars on those results? Ever bought a new desk? Standing desks with the treadmills are so great. We have a few of them. I highly recommend them to increase your focus, your mental health, your productivity. Just feel like you're getting so much done, clearing out that, crust from the body every morning. Anyway, I went to go buy one of my treadmills and all they had left was the store display piece. I was offered a chance to use the display running machine for up to a week and then return it if I didn't find it satisfactory. Ever wonder how manufacturers can afford to take a chance like that? Well, the fact is that this improves their odds exponentially. It actually gives the consumers, you and me, a chance to get used to and fully appreciate their new product. It gives the consumers time for the product to grow on them, maybe for them to even fall in love with it. I mean, if I'm gonna spend most of my working hours on something, I gotta love it, right? I brought that machine, and since that time of our agency is about 3 more. Like I said, I highly recommend them to increase your focus, mental health, and productivity. So do you think focus groups and blind tests can give you accurate results? Not necessarily, and let's find out why. Blind tests and focus groups, there's hits and misses. Today we'll look at some focus groups and blind tests conducted by popular companies in the past and see how they worked out for them. These will give you some excellent reasons why focus groups and blind testing don't necessarily give you the kind of accuracy that you need. So let's get right to it then. The great Coke versus Pepsi battle. The Coke versus Pepsi taste test. For the longest time, Coca-Cola was the undisputed king of flavored carbonated drinks. But then Pepsi happened, and it kept happening. In 1972, 18% of consumers said they were Coke drinkers, and only 4% identified Pepsi as their drink of choice. By the early 80s, the two brands were neck and neck. Coke had 12% of the market share, whereas Pepsi had 11%, neck and neck. This, in spite of the fact that Coke was available simply everywhere and had huge ad budgets. This was a time when Pepsi was putting out some unique ads. There was something called the Pepsi Challenge, where people were blind tasting 2 drinks, liking one, and surprise, surprise, the one they liked turned out to be a Pepsi. So Coke decided to conduct some blind tasting tests of their own and found to their horror that people did, in fact, seem to prefer Pepsi over Coke, 57% to 43%. What? That much vaulted secret Coke formula was such a treasure. Not anymore, or so it seemed. People actually liked Pepsi more. Now, this was pretty devastating for Coke, for whom that taste was pretty much their thing. And now this Pepsi, admittedly the sweeter drink, was what people wanted. So now Coke felt it was necessary to tinker with the great formula. They came out with new Coke. Sweeter, lighter, more like Pepsi. Then came the all-important blind test, which seemed to bear out the premise that people were liking the sweeter drink more. So they launched the new Coke with great fanfare. They couldn't lose, right? But they did. People hated new Coke so much that they were forced to bring back classic Coke as a point. New Coke was history. Clearly, after those blind taste tests were wrong, and guess what? The original blind tastes from the Pepsi challenge, those were wrong too. If they were right, Pepsi could and would have overtaken Coke and become #1 soft drink in the world. It didn't. Even today, Coke is still #1. Pepsi is huge, yes, but Coke is bigger. So why did these blind tests not work? The blind tasting session asked people to take a sip from one, then another cup, and make up their minds based on that. And here's what they missed out on. No one takes a sip out of a little cup. Taking a sip of a drink and drinking down an entire cup can feel very, very different. Also, when someone drinks soda, they're not just drinking the soda. They're appreciating the feel of the chilled can in their hand, admiring the bright color scheme of the packaging, perhaps identifying with how cool those kids looked at the TV commercial, the sound of the opening of the can, the bubbling of the waters, all unto their senses. The blind tests didn't take this into account. They should have. There's a concept called sensation transference. It's a term coined by Louis Cheskin. According to this, when we make decisions about what to buy, we assess not only the product, but also the packaging and much else about it. This makes a lot of sense, and it certainly shows us why blind tests cannot give us accuracy or accurate results, simply because they don't give us the complete results. They just examine one aspect of a product. Giving insight into the whole experience of a brand, that's an expectation that is too highly set. You know that old adage, first impressions are the last impressions? Not true. To give you a personal example, I didn't like the first episode of Game of Thrones. The wildlings were off-putting at first. The action was exceedingly graphic, but watching more, you get used to the things that initially shock, and slowly, it's the story. The riveting story of the imperfect characters that simply reel you in. Soon you're invested in those characters, their personal stories, and just want more. The same thing happened with Breaking Bad. It took a few episodes to get people gripped, and then there was no stopping it. I mean, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman are still Halloween costume favorites. In fact, I could tell you about many TV shows that focus groups disapproved of at first, but went on to become some of our most beloved shows of all time. Maybe the first impressions of the story or characters weren't the best, but slowly there was familiarity, and then emotional investment, and then attachment. Now let me tell you about another case study about focus groups that went very, very wrong, but turned out really well for the company in the end. Herman Miller's Aran experiment. This is the story about Herman Miller's world-famous chair, the Aran, which I have. You probably used one of these chairs in an office, or you've stayed at a Hilton hotel. They are these chairs with this characteristic like mesh material and a wide back design. Now the idea was that they wanted to come up with the perfect ergonomic design for a chair. Proper support for the back and the arms, ventilation, adjustability, and of course, comfort. A lot of R&D went into creating that at that time. Could only be regarded as what everyone was calling it, an ugly chair. Focus groups gave it the big thumbs down. They said it looked like a giant exoskeleton insect. People would never take something with mesh, something where you could see the inner mechanism, something where it didn't even look luxurious or plush. It looked like it would be uncomfortable, they said. One Stanford professor admitted that the chair was comfortable, but instead, he insisted that he be asked for his opinion again when the company had developed an aesthetically refined prototype. Herman Miller, however, did the wise thing, and they launched that chair despite the less than tepid response their market research yielded. Now, listen in. You're going to love this bit. When the product was launched, the story was completely different. It admittedly took a bit of time, but soon it caught the attention of design communities. It won design awards, and soon it became this iconic chair. Sales grew at 50 to 70% year on year. Now, Aran is not just one of the most famous chairs in the world. It is Herman Miller's most widely sold chair of all time. And Herman Miller's got a lot of great chairs. I'm kind of a chair freak. So there's this proverb that comes to my mind. Familiarity breeds contempt. The opposite may actually be true. One of the most successful closing tactics of all time is called the puppy close. You know, take that puppy home and keep it for a week. See how it fits in with the family, how your kids like it, and if it doesn't feel right for you, you can just return the puppy after a week. Come on. 9 times out of 10, if you've taken a puppy home on a trial basis, you've got yourself a long-term pet. There's a great comfort in familiarity and recognition, coming back to the sodas you love. When you reach the Coke or you reach your Pepsi, you aren't just reaching for something that quenches your thirst and tastes nice. You're reaching for the whole experience of using the product. The celebrities associated with it, the logo, what you eat along with the product or enjoy along with the product. When you've been using something for a while and then buy another item from the same brand again, this is because of familiarity, because of comfort and a sense of belonging to a brand. Now, I'm not suggesting that market research is wrong or not useful. Far from it. The many ways market research works is something I will speak about in another episode. However, doing market research just to tick off the boxes and to cover one's backside makes the whole exercise a colossal, meaningless waste of resources. At least it can. So what can you do instead? I'll give you a 4-point plan to follow when launching new products or to make the results of any focus group or blind test more relevant and accurate. Number 1, eat. Don't just taste. Coke got it wrong because they did just a sip test. Now, a proper drink test may have yielded different results. So if your product is a food or a beverage, it makes sense to let the people experience it fully. The same applies to automobiles or gadgets or appliances or even a phone app. Let them live with it for a while. See how they like it, how it fits in with their lifestyle. 1 week would likely give you more reliable feedback. And then you consider any tweaks or changes if required. Remember the desk with the treadmill? A week of use made me fall in love with it. Keeps me focused and my productivity levels have been through the roof since I got it. And you know what? I'm not sure I would have felt that way or even picked that particular one if I had to decide by just checking it out at the store. Number 2, go with your gut. Imagine if the Herman Miller people had decided to create a plush version of the Aeron or to scrap it altogether. If you've worked hard on creating a product and you believe it could help people, improve their lives, go with that. Listen to your gut. Don't let critics distract you. As they say on social media, hate is gonna hate. You don't have to pay any attention to them. That's up to you. You're in control of that. Number 3, get expert insight. Okay, so there's wonderful people to listen to. You can get very valuable feedback from people who really have insight or expertise in that field. In some cases, social media influencers could be the go-to experts you consult. Not only do they have insight, they have a valuable perspective, insight into how your product might hold up to other similar ones, what your market really wants out of your product. They tell you what is likely to work and what needs more work. They'll be able to do this without fear or favor because their reliability and status as an expert depends upon this impartiality. Number 4, and you don't want to miss this one because this is the most important point when it comes to designing the branding, your product. Be true to your vision. Identify your brand's ethics and remain true to them. Identify the emotion that you want your brand or product to evoke in the hearts and mind of your ideal individuals and be true to that. Once you do this, ensure that every aspect of your product and the branding process is consistent with that emotion, with your brand story. Branding has everything to do with appealing to emotions. If you're ever able to identify that emotion and then deliver that feeling to your people over and over and over again, every touch point with your brand, you've hit the bullseye. Like I've said in many of my videos, products are made in factories, but brands are born in the heart. There's only so much you can predict and know with the help of market research and the blind tests and the focus groups. To become known, trusted, and beloved, the first step must just be familiarity. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to include the key element of emotional engagement through familiarity in your development process, and trust that your brand will also become an inspiration to millions. I put out videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, click that bell so you don't miss a single thing. And always remember our motto at Inspiration to Millions, and that is to love what you do and love how you do it. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll love.